last amazingly 29 years, I've been a teacher here at Fairmont. I've been an assistant principal. I've been the high school principal, director of student services, and now my current job is assistant superintendent of teaching and learning for Kettering City Schools. I'm also a proud parent of 4 Firebirds, one Fairmont graduate, 2024, a current senior right here at Fairmont, a current freshman at Fairmont, and a 7th grader at Van Buren Middle School. I think if we, and I almost forgot, my amazing wife, Mackenzie, she works right here at Fairmont High School too, and I think that truly makes us a Firebird family.
That's what I do.
I think if we counted all the hours that we spend on Kettering City Schools property, I think it's more than we spend at our own home. Tonight's a good example. 3 of them are at Trent Arena playing or watching volleyball. One is at Roush Stadium practicing football. So none of us are home. We're all at our second home right here on Kettering City Schools property. As our family personally experiences each and every day, Kettering and Kettering City Schools are truly an amazing place. We know that everybody is really busy and there are dozens of things that you could be doing tonight, and instead you're here with us. So we want to make sure that we thank you for your time, for your attention. It means a whole lot that you're here. It's a really, really big deal. We're going to take a quick look at our agenda for the night. We're going to be in here for about a half hour. We're going to get an overview of our master facilities plan, and then we're going to have 4 groups that are going to go out and tour the building. So we're going to take 4 stops. That's going to take us about 40 minutes, and then we're going to come back here and have a question and answer session. So if you have questions as you see the presentation, or as you have questions as you go around the building, we're going to write those down. We'll have a panel right back up here, and we'll try to get those questions answered for you. Also, afterwards, there are a bunch of pictures and information in the lobby. There are drinks. There's food out there. We would love for you to stay, look through those, and if you have additional questions, write those down. We want to make sure we get all of your questions answered. We really don't want to bury the lead here tonight. Mike Richley is going to talk a little bit more in detail, but we found out recently that our buildings exceed the 66% renovation threshold as determined by the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, also known as the OFCC. The exception of that is Greenmont Elementary. The state of Ohio will co-fund new construction, providing approximately $159 million, with our local money contributing $321 million for new schools. This money would address the condition of 7 of our elementary schools, our early childhood center, 2 middle schools, and the high school, the academic wings of the high school. Without that state partnership, the OFCC estimates it would cost approximately $350 million locally for maintenance and renovations of existing buildings to bring them up to the OFCC standard. Looking at that graphically on the screen on the left, that is our opportunity from the OFCC to partner with them for new state-of-the-art buildings where our local share would be, this is approximate, $321 million. Our state share, so money we would get from the state, would be approximately $159 million to build new state-of-the-art buildings. On the right, if we chose to not partner with the state, we would have to fund all of that locally. You can see from the boards out in the lobby that an estimate to bring our buildings up to OFCC standards would be approximately $350 million, and that would be all local money. The state would not partner with us for that renovation cost. I'm not going to read this slide all the way through to you, but I want to draw your attention to the last bullet there, And in 1955, the population here in Kettering was large enough that we actually attained city status. A really neat contest was held in 1956, and Kettering Fairmont senior Judith Ireland won a contest to create an example first seal for the city. And so this was a Fairmont High School graduate who won this contest, and it says, "No place is now someplace." That was 1955, Kettering, Ohio. So think about that date, 1955, we were a city. In the 1940s, 50s, and early 60s, our community made a deliberate choice to build some of the most innovative and highly sought after schools in all of the Midwest. Because of that visionary thinking, my kids and many of your kids benefited greatly from that commitment. This decision helped attract amazing teachers, amazing staff members, and families to Kettering, Ohio, and it's one of the reasons we say great schools, great community. Personally, I can never repay the community and those leaders in the 1940s who made an amazing education and opportunity that my children got from being here in Kettering City Schools. Looking a little bit closer back to us, in 1968, 1969, Kettering had nearly 16,000 kids in Kettering City Schools, and we had 23 schools here in Kettering. Today, we have around 7,700 students and 12 schools. Like we've done over the past 60 years, it's time again for us to right-size our buildings. We have too many buildings, they're too large, and they're too expensive to maintain. We need to right-size, just like we did from the 60s up until current. For example, our middle schools were determined by the OFCC to have 41% too much space. Our neighbors, like West Carrollton City Schools, Fairborn, they just built brand new schools. Northmont has a new high school. Miamisburg, Bellbrook, Huber Heights have much, much newer schools than Kettering, and Beaver Creek has new middle schools. Those are all competition for us here at Kettering. The reality is, unlike the 50s, we no longer have innovative, desirable buildings compared to our neighbors. We have 60 and 75-year-old buildings that were not designed to educate in the age of collaboration, innovation, technology, and creativity. You'll find during your tours, our staff has done an amazing job of making do with what we have. We do have, and you'll see some of these on the tour, some pockets of really new and amazing spaces. Some examples you may have seen in the news, our new advanced manufacturing space we got from grant money from the state. It is amazing. Our engineering lab, it is amazing. We have a cosmetology program, an auditorium, the recital hall, which you're sitting in right now. Amazingly, this is 20 years old. And we're not going to see them tonight, but the high school music areas, they are just fantastic. We also have failing roofs, 70-year-old electrical and HVAC mechanicals, and we have some tiny cramped learning spaces that our kids spend their time in every day. I want to talk just for a minute about the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. For over 60 years, our community has done a fantastic job of stretching our dollars and maintaining these aging buildings. We've been efficient, but our needs are now outpacing the funding that we are provided. In the first month of school, for example, our maintenance staff has been working on over 400 work orders to try to fix our buildings. You can see on the chart up there, other than Greenmont Elementary, our newest building in the district is 60 years old. Our newest building is 60 years old. We're here tonight with the help of the OFCC. They're experts who have been assessing all of our school buildings to ensure that our decisions on public schools are efficient, that we're right-sizing and that we're being financially sound. Detailed information is available out in the lobby. It's also on our facilities webpage. You could go to our website for information. And then we really encourage you to go see the charts that are out in the lobby. They give detailed information of the things that we would have to fix if we were trying to renovate our schools. The last time we passed a bond issue was 23 years ago. We were not eligible at that time for any significant state funding. Today, because of the needs of the district, we are now eligible for the state to pay a significant amount of money to help the cost of building new buildings. This co-funded money from the state of Ohio is available, and we have the unique opportunity to use this to keep our schools as one of the pillars in the community. Just like those who founded Kettering and the Kettering City Schools in the 40s and 50s, we have some important decisions to make. We're excited and grateful that you're here tonight and you have the opportunity to learn more information about our schools. It's my pleasure to introduce Mike Richley, who is going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of our master facilities plan. Mike?
Thank you so much, Dan. My name is Mike Richley with Richley Architects, and I'm joined by my brother and business partner, Mark Richley. Would you raise your hand, Brother Mark? Good to see you. Long time. Grew up in Kettering. I grew up in Kettering. I graduated, went to Southdale, Van Buren, and Fairmont. I graduated in 1989. So it's really fun to be back. And my homeroom was in West Unit. And really, West Unit looks pretty much the same as it did in 1989, and at that time it didn't feel new. So anyway, I'm going to go over succinctly the details of the master plan. So on the left is the existing quantity of buildings. You have a high school, Fairmont, 2 middle schools, Van Buren and KMS. And then Greenmont, which Dan mentioned, is the newest school in the district, built in 2005. And then you can see all the other elementary schools, and then Keck, which is the pre-K. Our proposed 10-year master plan, long-term vision for Kettering, is to consolidate from 12 buildings to 7. So that's the 10-year vision. And our approach, as opposed to building all 7 buildings at once, is to segment the plan in essentially 2 5-year chunks. In the first 5 years, we would address what we're calling segment 1, which would be partial fix to Fairmont High School and a new middle school. So we're calling segment 1. And then segment 2, approximately 5 years down the road, would be the balance of the projects, which would be essentially all the elementary schools. And our plans for the elementaries is to keep Greenmont, because it's the newest of the buildings, but do building replacements for essentially 4 new elementary schools that would replace all your existing schools. So this is literally once in a multi-generational opportunity. This is a very ambitious plan, and this is all possible, as Dan laid out, with the state as a funding partner. Our thought also on segmenting is priorities, is what are the district's greatest priorities, and let's address those in segment 1. And what we had identified as the highest need or to address the middle schools. Van Buren in particular is in the worst shape, and KMS, based on population, is oversized. So if we can solve the middle school problem, we can take a big chunk of the inefficiency, the oversized area, and the highest needs out of the mix. Additionally, right behind that is Fairmont High School. So everything that isn't the new stuff at Fairmont, specifically the academic core spaces, the classroom spaces, we would address those in this first segment. So again, segment 1, new middle school and Fairmont High School, and segment 2, to be at least 5 years down the road, would be the elementaries. And the benefit of this is to spread the cost burden out over a longer period of time. And just a high-level look at these costs is to have segment 1 on the left. We're anticipating this to be approximately a $222 million project. This would be all locally funded in this first segment. Again, that's for the new middle school and portions of the high school. Even though that's locally funded, we would be earning state credit during that segment. So when segment 2 comes up, we'll be addressing the elementary schools. We're going to leverage the state credit from segment 1 and apply the state funding from segment 2. So the mix of the local cost in segment 2 is going to be about $99 million local and $159 from the state. That's when that kicks in. So then when comprehensively we look at the total nut, we're talking about a $480 million plan, $321 million locally, and $159 from the state. And these are all in today's dollars. The first bond issue we're talking about, potentially in May of 2026, is just this first segment 1, just this first $222 million. And what we want to do is planning work sufficient to tell the story, test the case, and say where are we going to put the building, what kind of confidence do we have that this is going to work, and this work is been happening and it's been ongoing. Our plan is to put the new middle school, so the combined KMS and Van Buren, at Fairmont High School. And this is the current Fairmont High School campus. See Schroyer Road on the east. We're sitting right here in the recital hall. There's Lincoln Park, Far Hills on the west, and Rock Hill. Some of the newer areas that we would save, and I'll point out, would be Trent Arena, the wrestling room. This is the advanced manufacturing addition, the new auditorium, the performing arts space, the entry, and of course, career tech. The older portions of the building that we're looking at addressing in segment 1 would essentially be the academic core, which is the one-story west, central, and east units. Our proposal to do this is to open the building in the middle school to Far Hills, taking advantage of the green space west of the campus, relocating baseball and softball varsity fields to KMS, and then putting a new building and a new frontage and a new vehicular ingress and egress off of Far Hills. So the campus would open up to Far Hills. Our plan would be to do a multi-phased approach for this segment, where we'd start by building essentially, we'd be building the middle school that'll serve as a temporary high school. So we go ahead and build this multi-story, 223 square foot middle school first, but we're going to use it for the high school. When this is completed, students in West, Central, and East move into the temporary high school. Then we would come back and abate and demolish West, Central, and East and create a site for a new multi-story, 3-story academic core. Essentially take West, Central, and East, stack them on top of one another, and rotate them 90 degrees. One benefit that will do for us is to create a new, larger parking field and bus drop-off on the north. Our goal in this is to make things better than they are today. And if you're familiar with this campus today, you know there's some backup on Schroyer, you know there's some congestion on Rock Hill. Our goal is to address that, make that better, all the while adding the new middle school to the campus. So in this case, this is the final kind of conceptual picture with the new middle school, the new high school academic core. We're envisioning a new entry there. So we'd have a new office, vehicular drop-off point of entry that would take some pressure off of this one. And then by opening a connection to Far Hills, bringing parent drop-off, staff parking over in that area. There's been some intensive and ongoing meetings. We've had a traffic engineer who's been hired, who's helping. The city's been terrific. We've talked to engineering, zoning, chief building official, fire, kind of all about this concept. And we feel really good that this will work. We're continuing to work out the details, and more information will be coming as to the details for this. So this is the long-term vision of how the new middle school and the new high school could function on this site. Van Buren, when the students are out of that building, the plan is to abate and demolish Van Buren. And our current thought is to turn that into green space, athletic fields, and some additional parking for Roush. And then over at KMS, I mentioned baseball and softball. Fortunately, you're blessed with a lot of acreage, so we believe we have space over there for baseball, softball, practice fields, etc., to occur at KMS. High-level schedule is segment 1, which is the first portion, the $222 million portion that you're voting on, potentially in May of 2026. Segment 1, we're in this master planning phase right now. Bond issue potentially in May of 26. And we have about a 4-year design and construction window. And the reason that's so stretched out, it's a multi-phased approach. So we have to build one building, abate and demolish the high school academic core, move in, and then build the high school piece. So essentially like two-year projects on top of one another. The segment 2, which is the elementary schools, again, this is a crystal ball. The state has shared with us that the time frame for funding for segment 2 would be in that 5 to 10 year window. So optimistically, on a 5-year window, we'd be looking at a 2023 issue to support that with a master planning process. So it'll be a whole new master planning process to engage on where the schools are going, what sites they're going to be occupying for the elementaries. And then we'd also envision a multi-phase design and construction process as well for those additional buildings in segment 2. So again, this is just a larger picture of the 10-year vision of the entire master plan, both segment 1 and segment 2. And then a little detail of what's all in that $222 million, what scope have we identified. Mentioned the new middle school, abating and demolishing a portion of Fairmont High School. That's west, central, and east units. Putting about 180,000 square foot addition for the academic core for Fairmont High School. Doing some targeted renovations, the rest of Fairmont that is not in the addition, fire alarm upgrades, targeted HVAC roofing improvements. We know we need to build a new baseball and softball field, the abatement and demolition of Van Buren, and then some additional budget, because we've got to keep the elementary schools running for the next 10 years, is some warm, safe, and dry money to support roofing projects, HVAC improvements at those elementaries until segment 2 happens. So that concludes my presentation.
Well, good evening. I'm Mindy McCarty-Stewart. I'm the superintendent of Kettering City Schools. I thank you, Mike and Dan, for recapping and getting us up to speed on the master plan, the need, the why. As Dan has shared his Firebird family story, I certainly have to take a moment also to say my husband and I are empty nesters, but we have moved here to Kettering for the last 4 years. We love this community so much that I've managed to recruit my parents. My mom and dad are new homeowners here in Kettering, as well as then my sister decided she didn't want to miss out on a great thing, so she and her husband are also now Firebirds. They have enjoyed the Holiday at Home Parade, the football games, and recently the Kettering Classic, and they've really enjoyed embracing the Firebird family. So I'm very passionate about this project and want to make sure that we leave it in great condition, as we have mentioned those before us, because we do know great schools mean great community, and this has been our emblem for a very long time. I think you can see it right there in the podium. So we learned in the community forum last spring that you really need to see in each of the buildings. So part of our goal is to give you updates on the master plan progress throughout the fall and winter and into the spring, and always updating you with information on our facility page. We also want to get you into the buildings, not just here, but we'll be planning others, so that you can see those specific areas and needs that we're talking about. Because oftentimes when you come here, you're in our beautiful auditorium, you're in this recital hall, and so we want you to really see, feel, hear, and understand the depth of needs that are in the areas that we are talking about this evening.
I hope so. Hi, my name's Tim Mathis. I'm the electrician. We also do the HVAC for all the schools. I guess we'll start here with the boilers. I've never done this before. I'm a worker, not a talker. I have 3 boilers in this room that were manufactured in 1995. I have 4 boilers, 2 in east and 2 in west. They were manufactured in 1994. I have 2 boilers in the gym, with the newer ones, which were 2005 when they were put in, when they built the addition over here with the arena. And there's 2 boilers in the arena, which were 2005. So there's 11 boilers total on the campus. We have a problem at this campus. They've been trying to fix it for years. I've been in this job since 2009, and before I got in this job, I was in general maintenance, and we've had the same issues. We have a crossover, and there's so many pipes in the ceilings throughout here. We've had plumbing companies come out. We've tried to find where the pipes are crossed over. They can't find it. The problem is that when you get down to the units, we have things in the ceiling that are called changeover valves. On the cold water pipes and the hot water pipes, we have 2 changeover valves on each one. And what happens is the water from the cold water crosses over to the hot water pipes. And the boilers we have over there, the 4, and actually the 5 and 6, they are not made for cold water in them, which is at 40 degrees, 42 degree water. They get into the boilers, and then our boiler pipes inside them rust, which hold the hot water for our heating. And we unfortunately develop leaks in them, and they spring leaks, and we have to have the tubes replaced inside the boilers. And once they realized what was going on, we started isolating the boilers so that the water would actually stop at the valves and not go into the boilers. And when the water gets in the boilers are sweating just like a Coke glass. And we have I said we have the 2-pipe system into the unit vents, which are in the classrooms on the wings. And those changeover valves, they let the cold water into the unit vents, which were originally designed only for heaters. And they retrofit those in the 90s, and they put a drain pan in them and piped the condensate outside. And like those are the oldest unit vents we have. And inside there's plastic bushings on the things that the dampeners that move. Some of them we have the original actuators in them, because we don't change them until they go bad. There's a brand called Stafa, and that was when this stuff was originally put in, and I want to say well before the 80s. I don't know the exact date. But we have to retrofit. The Stafa things are obsolete, which means the things that we buy, which is a brand called Belimo, it costs a lot to be able to bolt something on something that's obsolete. It's myself. I have another journeyman who's an electrician, and we do the HVAC. And then we have an apprentice who just started with us at the beginning of the year. And me and that guy, we run from all these schools over and over. We can just stay busy like you wouldn't believe. Now we go into the chiller part. We got a brand new chiller up there, a new carrier, and we've got an older train. Well, it's not that old, but it's a couple years old. A smaller train, and we have 4 ice tanks out back there in the bricked-in area. For the past 5 or 6 years, we've not been able to use the ice tanks completely. We've had a problem with our glycol that we have to put in, like what you put in your radiator for your car. to keep the ice tanks really from freezing. But we have 4 ice tanks, and what they do is they make it so that during the winter time, the summertime, and the hottest parts of the day, we're not really using the chiller. The chiller can back down, which saves everybody money, and we use those ice tanks. And we run the water through there, and we have a heat exchanger where the building water then meets the ice water from the ice tanks, and then that's where the transition comes, and we have 42-degree water that goes into our buildings. The problem is we can't use those because we've had a leakage of glycol, and no one can find it. We've had different companies out here. We've had companies that come out to test our water to see if there's any glycol in our ice tanks, which is not supposed to be. The glycol stays in the tubes. And I know there's been at least 2 companies at 2 different times that found nothing. And we think we've found one in one of the ice tanks that's actually leaking. So now we think that we know where the glycol is going after a lot of gallons have just went away. These are our 3 boilers made in 1995. These are the boiler pumps that pump the water throughout the building. This is our heat exchanger I was talking about. There's our overflow glycol tank that we have to actually put the glycol in, which are in those barrels there, the 5-gallon drums. And then I have my chiller pumps. I have 4 of those. 2 just going from the chiller to the building, and then 2 pushing it out throughout the rest of the building. These are probably almost 30 years old. Well, they're 30 years old, and the other ones are like 31 years old, my oldest boilers.
So we are going to enter what's called our 400 unit of the building, and it's the furthest space of East, the academic East unit. In the middle here we have our activities office, in which is the hub of all things student life. And then we have our attendance office here. And once we start walking through this part of the building, this would be considered one of our academic wings. So that's where some of these spaces would be part of the plan. So what I would love for you to focus on, and we'll stop different spaces along the way, are the classroom sizes and some of the width of the hallway, because if you can picture 2,400 students walking through these hallways, we have like maybe 30 people, and we're going to be arm in arm, but when you have hundreds and thousands of students walking, it's pretty tight, and the hallways are a little more narrow than what's expected of I guess a more modern high school as well, or school building in general. So come on and let's check out some spaces. We have a classroom space. We have Mrs. Monbeck, in which I'd love for you to poke your head into. This is one of our classrooms with windows.
All right, so we generally have 30 kids in here, which is every desk. So I don't know if you've ever taught kids and tried to move desks around, you know, to do group work or anything, but the classrooms are small, and you guys are so lucky because the air conditioning is working and doesn't smell wretched. It was smelling really wretched in here earlier, wasn't it? We have the candle, you know, we make it a boutique experience in here, so. You know, when the class is full, we can't get to the bookshelves, and I can't get anything out of the cabinets because the desks are too close to those things to do that, so I have to prep all of that before the kids actually get in the building, which is a little problematic. Also, you can see we have the lovely window to the hallway, which if you've ever taught children, you know that is just, you know, certainly not distracting at all, especially if like the squad is coming to the nurse's office or people are coming back from lunch while I'm teaching class, and probably also a safety issue. So I don't mind the actual shape of this space, and I'm happy with the cabinets, but it would be nice to be able to, like I said, move, you know, desks together to do, you know, things like reading in groups. There's just, you can't really do that here because it's just like they're on top of each other and can't separate the sound. You know, when we act out individual scenes from Macbeth, whatever. I have kids like all down the hall and all up the band hall, just, you know, to make it work. So it would just, I'm fine with this space. It would just be nice if it was just a little bit bigger to accommodate the class sizes that we have.
So before we go down the East Unit hallway, I just want to show you, like, again, we make do with what we have and what we need, but I just want you to pop into the family restroom and just take a look at kind of what we are making do with. So again, I also want you to picture what it would look and feel like with multiple students in here, and if they actually did use their lockers. This is a 9-foot wide hallway with lockers on both sides with people. So.
Hi folks, come on in and go ahead and have a seat or stand next to a desk. That'll give you a feel for what it feels like in here when we have 25 students in here, 10th period in chemistry class, because we do. So folks, welcome. My name is Susan Lehman. I teach 4 classes of freshmen, chemistry for half a year and physics for half a year. Looking around the room right here, how do you feel about space to move for physics? A lot of space? Not a lot of space. So we push desks to the side, make rows, play in the hall. We do whatever we can to get the space we need because I believe that science is super valuable. It not only teaches you how to think critically and things about your world, but it gives you a great chance to work with other people and to interact and also to play with manipulatives and really figure things out. And you need some space to do that. So a tour of my room would be like there's in many rooms, we've got window seals that are coming apart, the window blinds. Over here, we've got things that I can make work, but that have been fixed and refixed to make sure that a fume hood is a safety feature of a science room. You can't do certain experiments and things without it. That keeps it safe. As we're moving on, you can see that there are some places that don't have enough outlets and plugs. I actually, the last principal we had in East was able to install some extra outlets for me, but over here, when I did an experiment with the freshmen earlier today, I didn't want 200-degree hot plates with them, so I needed to put them over here in the materials section, and I have a little octopus where I've plugged them in, which is a no-no, but I don't have enough plugs to plug them all in. My glasses cabinet doesn't work like it should. I have to manually turn it on and off. It's supposed to have a little timer, which means that once I set this to clean the goggles, then I can focus on teaching. Right now I can't. I have to make sure that I turn it off at the right time so the glasses don't smell weird and so that they get cooked long enough. And through here, we talked about space a second ago. This is about wide enough for one person, and yet, when you put 25 people back in here, and this is the only place that I have to put materials, it's not just one person walking back and forth here. With chemicals, with liquids, with potentially hot things. And I think that students have changed over the years, right? Things change. Well, I have a lot of students in my classes that have difficulty with different learning things that I want to be present as they're learning to help interact with them, and students that don't even speak English. Literally, some of them that don't speak English yet because they're integrated in our classes so they can learn to speak English while they're learning another subject. Imagine 12 people right here. Playing with fire, playing with glass, playing with chemicals, perhaps a boiling liquid up high, something that really will make your skin crawl. I have to be able to walk back and forth there to make sure that kids are doing the right thing so that they're learning what they're supposed to be learning, so that they're safe, so that they're successful, because that's what I think my job as a teacher is. So this just really, even though this is a big lab space, it isn't really big enough. That's just a little tour. Those are the other things that the other science teachers said. If you'd like to read anything from asbestos floor, cracked asbestos floors to corroded gas lines going down through the floor, congestion on the labs, not being able to see as a teacher, sinks that won't drain, air conditioners that just can't keep up. We do our best and kids learn, but that's all I have to say.
All right, as we move to our last station, I want you to feel the difference of the width of this hallway. hallway. This is more of what upgraded hallways, the width feels like. So it's a little more spacious, but I still guarantee this hallway is the busiest hallway.
110%.
110%. And it's still difficult to manage. I pass the mic to you.
All right, there's a microphone. All right, fantastic. Come on around. We have some pictures on the wall, so if anybody want to come around so where you can see those. My name is Eric Spicer. I'm with Division 7 Roofing. We're a company based out of Columbus. We have an office in Westchester, and I am based in Beaver Creek. So I'm very local. I have friends in this district. I come to many of your sporting events and things like that. So I'm very familiar with the community. I'm here pretty much all the time. One of the things that we do at Division Roof is all we do is commercial roofs. That's what we specialize, but one of the biggest elements of our company is responding to service calls. That's leaks and repairs or preventative maintenance. My job is selling preventative maintenance. We hope to come and put this school on a preventative maintenance program, but this is what we found. It is not appropriate or ethically appropriate for me to try and sell this school district a preventative maintenance plan. It's way beyond its lifespan. This is what we call a modified bitumen roof. It's basically a rolled out asphalt. It just gets stuck to the floor. It's adhesive. It's put on the floor. It's just like many of our roofs at home, an asphalt. It's put down in sheets. And then you see the seams there. They're seamed together and they overlap and they all get seamed together. Without maintenance and repair over time, it'll deteriorate and it won't expand or extend its life. This roof here, just by looking at it, I don't know the exact date. I don't know if there was ever a replacement in its life. I kind of doubt it, but if there was, what I'm looking at here tells me that this is at least 40, 50 years old, way beyond being able to do a major repair and try to extend its life through a maintenance program. These are actual pictures by our company. When we come out, we get a leak call. In fact, we'll be on one of the school's roof. I'm not sure which one it is. Maybe this one. But when we get a call, we will usually try to schedule them the same day if we can. If not, it'll be the next day. So they will be out here in the morning. But when we come, we take pictures of before and after our repairs. These are the before shots of repairs that we typically find on all of your buildings. I know we've been on about 4 or 5 of them, I think, thus far. In August alone, we were on this building 8. I don't know if I already mentioned that, but we have been on this building 8 times alone in August, responding to leaks. We've only been servicing the school district here since the beginning of the school year. And we got basically involved because you had some literally school classrooms that were not even to be able to be used. They were going to be shut off, everything getting pulled out, because when the teachers come back off of their summer break and they start to get prepared for the year, it was just unusable. And then I was in those rooms, and I can tell you, I can assure you that that's a true story. The trash can's full of water, and
it looked like it was raining.
Yeah, the ceiling tiles, you can just walk through the hallways and just see, it's like, we're here for this leak, but you've got leaks everywhere, friend. So that's kind of the situation. The other thing to consider, someone asked in the last group, could we just peel this off and put on some new bitumen? Yeah, you could, but the problem is it's not going to meet code. Underneath this, the insulation factor and all those things are well beyond what the current code is, the insulation. I can tell you from my experience that if we did a core sample of this and went down and checked the decking and the substrate and the insulations that are under there, I would be shocked to find out that insulation is not just ruined with water damage and mildew and all other kinds of problems. I would bet my house that that's going to be the situation, so I wouldn't recommend it.
Thank you to our tour guides, all the tour guides that helped, and our experts that were around the building. And we've been collecting some questions. As you have questions in here, we have some helpers that we have index cards. If you're not comfortable using your phone or having tech difficulties, this area doesn't really get great connection in this recital hall. And so Ashley and Dan over there, they're there to help submit your questions. So we have our panel up here, and why don't you each go ahead and introduce yourself, and that helps us with a mic check. And we'll start here with Jeff.
Jeff Johnson, Director of Business Services for Kettering Schools.
I'm Mike Hart. I'm the Buildings and Ground Supervisor here for Kettering City Schools.
Mike Richley, Richley Architects.
Dan Indoor Assistant Superintendent.
Justin Blevins, Treasurer.
Okay, they are your panel. There's been a common question, so I think this will cover several. Just if we could expand a little bit more about the traffic study, the feasibility about the traffic study.
Great.
I'll take that.
Thanks,
That's okay,
Mike.
Mindy. So I mentioned it in the presentation, but I can dive in a little bit more detail.
Is his microphone working? Okay.
All right, here. Excellent. So our primary goal is to make sure the project is going to work. Like what we're proposing is feasible and it's going to work. So what we do is we rely on professional traffic engineer to support us in this effort. So we've hired the Kleinger's Group. Mark Nolt specifically is a lead traffic engineer. We've been working with him for a long, long time. They're doing traffic counts, Van Buren, at KMS. They're pulling the data. They're determining the lineal footage of drop-off required for both drop-off and pickup, arrival and dismissal. They're studying how that then overlays on this campus, what kind of lengths we need for arrival, dismissal, for pickup and drop-off, and essentially helping us test it. Now this is it's interesting and fascinating, and I think there's a lot of opportunities, but the one major move we're doing, which is going to help, is opening up Far Hills to vehicular traffic. That's going to be a significant kind of a relief valve for the high school, the middle school, being able to ingress and egress off of Far Hills. So we're working with that. The other thing to keep in mind is that the new middle school and the high school are going to have different arrival and dismissal times. They're going to be different by, I think, about an hour. So it's not going to be additive, right? They're going to be sequential. So, for example, bus drop-off and pickup can serve double duty. If we have a bus drop-off area that's sufficient for the middle school, that can also work for the high school. The middle schoolers don't drive, fortunately, so we don't have student parking added, but we do have a lot of parent drop-off and pickup, and we want to make sure we accommodate that. We're envisioning improvements along Schroyer as well. So the Schroyer ingresses and egresses at the northeast corner would be improved. We're anticipating expanding that lot up in the northeast significantly. There's a lot of congestion on Rock Hill with the buses. We're anticipating that to be significantly better. Opening new pedestrian pathway connections, maybe even to Hathaway that aren't there now. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to not only solve for the middle school, but to improve what's currently happening at the high school. And I'll give kudos again to the city. The city has been a great partner with the schools. They lend us support on traffic engineering, zoning, and looked at it from a bunch of different levels and are actively engaging with us and helping us kind of thinking it through, because the city has their own process that they'll be talking about in terms of improvements they see in the future along Far Hills. So I probably talked too long about this, Mindy, but I know it's an important issue, and I'm confident that the middle school will work here and that the conditions when we're finished will actually be better than they are today.
Great, thank you. You're proposing to lose 2 theaters for the middle schools. All existing theaters are consistently being scheduled. How will this affect the program, the performing arts program?
I can take.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, good question. So as we work through our design and development, we'll work closely with our bands and determine the needs. With the OCC, we do get stages within those, but you don't get any fixed seating. So I know working with design and the experts will come up with some creative ideas to make sure that we take care of those needs for the students.
Thank you. Can Van Buren be repurposed, and what is the timing for the decision regarding Van Buren?
Take that one too. Well, as you've seen, part of our master plan is Van Buren will eventually become down and become practice fields. Or some kind of fields for there. So the repurpose would be for it to come down, being one of our oldest buildings in 1949. So we feel with everything going on there, it'd be best that building came down and we purpose it as far as fields and things for our athletic and our band groups.
The plan for segment 2, example, which sites will be used for the elementary schools?
I can volunteer for this one,
Sure.
Andy.
All right, so we're threading the needle here. So it's a 10-year vision focused on segment 1 in terms of what's the bond issue in May of 2026. However, we wanted to provide enough of a vision for the entire thing to be able to understand collectively how this is going to work. So our principles on segment 2 is that elementary schools would consolidate. We'd have fewer and larger elementary schools. The new elementary schools that we planned around 780 students each. So that is a bit bigger than some of them that are less than 350. Larger schools are more efficient to operate on a number of levels, and fewer buildings are more efficient to operate on another levels. Where these buildings are going to be placed, where the community decides to put them, what the board makeup looks like 5 years from now, who the administrative team is. There are a lot of variables out there, but here's things we have talked about. A commitment to neighborhood elementary schools. So those 4 would be geographically dispersed around the city in a logical way on sites that the district already owns. You have great sites and great locations, and the plan would be to reuse those strategically for new elementary schools. So we know Greenmont's going to stay, and we know there'll be 4 new elementary schools. We don't know exactly, it's kind of unknowable exactly where those are going to go. And there would be a future master planning process to engage with the community on options for locations of those in the future. If there's anything...
Mike, if I could jump in those are larger elementary schools, but JFK Elementary School, which we currently have, is about that size right now. And part of this process is visiting other communities and schools that they have built. I think there is such a positive growth in designing schools that some of the bigger elementary schools are designed to make them feel really, really small, which is our goal for community schools and for our elementary schools. We want to make sure that instruction and learning comes first. And there are definitely things that we've already seen that you can do to design an elementary school to make it feel really small, even though there might be the same number of students that are currently at JFK Elementary School.
All right, there are several questions regarding the implications for taxes. So what happens, and talk about the bond issue and how it applies to taxes. And I'm looking right at our treasurer.
I think this is my wheelhouse here. So the way this would work is, we know, as we've talked about with segment 1, it would be roughly $222 million. And so the board would certify that, and then it would go to the county auditor, who would determine what the millage rate is. And that millage rate would then get applied to your property value, which would determine your tax value, or I'm sorry, your taxes owed. As of right now, and these are assumptions that can change, so when I talk about a bond issue, it could change if we go out and sell bonds at 30-year to maturity versus 37 years to maturity. If we get an interest rate on our bonds that we have to pay back of 3% versus 5%. So all these factors sort of get ironed out as you go through the process, but the way it would start is the board would certify that $222 million, which would then, after it's gone to the county auditor, he would return to us, which what we would estimate right now, given our current property values in Kettering, would be 5.99 mils. And so if you want to try to put that into context with property value, 5.99 mils would come out to around $209 annually for a $100,000 valued property.
And you think it's a vote on that, or would that be automatic?
So, Justin, would you explain how a bond issue is decided then?
Yeah, absolutely. So the bond issue, first there would be a resolution passed by the board to certify the amount of the budget, like I mentioned. That goes to the county auditor, and they certify the millage, and that would then go on to a second resolution to be passed by the board for the ballot language that you would see in May. And at that point, then the community would vote on whether or not to pass the bond issue. After the passage of the bond issue, we would work with our municipal advisors and the underwriters and bond counsel to go out and then sell those bonds. We sell the bonds out, the community collects, or the district would collect that money from the sale of the bonds, and then the bonds themselves would have an interest rate tied to them that would get paid semi-annually to the investors in those bonds. So the tax collection would work to pay back each year a portion of the principal and that interest payment.
Next question. What happens if you realize higher than expected student enrollment after 10 years? Is there room to grow?
I'll answer that one. So along with OFCC, along with the billing assessments, they also hire a third party that goes out and does a 10-year enrollment projections. So they look at the past 10 years, they take all the information currently, and they also look 10 years ahead. So with that enrollment study, they determine that we're not going to grow. We'll actually kind of decrease maybe 200 or 300 students within those 10 years. So looking at that. And then also I know when designing buildings, you always kind of look at where you could add on potential classrooms in the future if that would come about.
Do you want to have that white good card, Johnny?
Sure. If you have questions that you've been writing down and haven't submitted, just kind of wave those around and they'll come around and collect those. Thank you. Why wasn't a maintenance plan ever put in place for any of these buildings?
I can answer that. So we do. So, and again, kind of going backwards real quick. In 2001, there was a bond issue that did a lot of comprehensive projects. We did roofs, we did HVAC, chillers, boilers, and that. So throughout those 25 years, we've had a maintenance plan where we maintain those buildings. So it's getting to the point now, the buildings being 60, 70 years old, that our funds for just maintaining is outgrown those needs. So this is why we're looking to partner with OCC and build a long-term facilities plan for the future.
How?
So we're going to spend a bunch.
Heck, what we're going to do is if you'll submit that, that would be great. I want to be so respectful of everyone else in the audience. Thank you. And we will get to your questions. Are there plans to renovate the cafeteria space at the high school?
Yes, that's definitely a need. So we've been looking at that. Again, we haven't into design, but going through the tours, we know that's something we need to address. So as we look through our segment 1, segment 2, we'll be addressing the size of the cafeteria.
And there are a couple of questions regarding athletic fields. Students having to maybe drive across town, and then there's another one about the field for track and field team. It's currently located next to, currently located next to the softball field. So can you elaborate any more on the plans regarding how we're going to plan for facility space?
Yeah, I'll give that one. So we feel the district owns sufficient amount of land, property, and sites to address all those needs. During our master planning, it's a great opportunity to look at all those fields that we have or different land and make a cohesive plan to be functional for all of our students out there. So we will collaborate with our music departments, with our athletic departments, and with experts and engineers to make sure that we come up with a master plan that meets all those students' needs as we progress through the design phase.
There's a question regarding class sizes. So if we're oversized in areas, we have some larger class sizes. I believe there's reference to class sizes of 28 and maybe second grade. Mr. Von Handorf.
Yep, that's a great question. One of the efficiencies that we will see by having less neighborhood schools is the ability to spread out and even out class sizes in our elementaries. And so we are very confident that with a fewer number of elementary buildings, we can level that out. Currently, Greenmont, for example, they at times only have 2 sections per grade level. And so if you have 50 second graders, you have to make a decision. If you have 2 sections, you've got 2 sections of 25. If you have 3 sections, those are pretty small classes. And so less elementary schools would allow you to have more uniform class size, as opposed to currently we have some sections of pretty small classes, some sections of larger classes. And then while we're on that topic, as we were going around the building in the English room that we looked at, for example, she has pretty high class sizes. She teaches honors classes, which tend to have more students in them, similar to college classes that kids would be going into, whereas some of our other classes have lower class sizes depending on what subject they're teaching and what level that they're teaching. And so overall, like Mike said, we're interested in solving problems. This future facilities master plan is going to help us have more balanced class sizes across the district. So that's a problem we feel like we're going to be able to help solve.
Will there be a student-led steering committee to help plan based on their experiences, not just the parents, administrators, and community?
I can talk about that. We've talked at length about the importance of student input in a lot of these decision making. In fact, we have a couple that are here in the audience who've done just a tremendous job on our facility planning steering committee meetings. And so we currently have students involved in this planning process, and every step of the way, committees that we have, we know the importance of having a student voice. And so we're really excited about incorporating our students into this planning process.
This community passes every levy presented. Why do we have all of the maintenance issues that we're seeing, roof, etc.?
Yeah, so that's kind of my wheelhouse. So as a building and ground supervisor, all the maintenance requests come through my office. And as you met today, Tim Mathis, one of our electricians, HVAC techs, works every day to make sure the classrooms they're cool in the summertime, the hot months, and they're warm in the winter. And just like our houses or our cars, we maintain those things, but over time they still break down. And we're at the point now where we've done maintenance on these things for years. As you saw in Dan's presentation when he started, our newest building on the Greenmont, 60 years old. So they've had a long life. And you heard some of our experts, our roofer got a question about, well, you can just replace this roof, put something over top of it. He says, I wouldn't recommend that. If you would take a core sample, a replacement on top of this wouldn't work. It wouldn't be a good idea. The same thing from our fire safety. The parts to some of these things, they outprice the cost of maintenance. So we've worked really hard, and our guys do a fantastic job. They want to save money. They want to be able to do things, but sometimes the cost just outweighs what a replacement would be. I know my best friend has got transmission just dropped out of his car. It's almost more efficient to buy a new one than replace that transmission. And that's kind of what we're seeing from the maintenance department. The work that we're doing, sometimes it just makes more sense to invest our dollars smarter.
Would one of you like to take sort of the second part of where are the funds for those items in terms of you have money that's spent on construction, how's the money collected to spend on maintenance?
I can jump in here to talk about this one. So there are 3 kind of major funds that we can think of as it relates to the projects that we're talking about in the facilities. You have the general fund, which is operating costs, and this is teachers, tires, textbooks, day-to-day operational costs. And you would have a bond fund, which is purchase of land or major renovations or construction. And then you have permanent improvement funds. So these each have restrictions on them. The general fund is the most flexible, and the money that we've been using currently to address a lot of the maintenance issues has been coming from our permanent improvement fund. And what Mike was just talking about, as these HVAC systems, fire alarm systems, roofs, and these items become older, the cost for upkeep has started to surpass what we have available for us in PI. And so now we're looking at how do we supplement that with our general fund dollars. And the problem that creeps up then as well as that you have a forecast looking at teachers, tires, textbooks, what are the costs for those. You don't account for having to supplement permanent improvement. I mean, we've started to do that, but that's not typically how you should look at those funds. So as we exceed the amount of permanent improvement funds that we have to address these needs, then we have to start looking at how we would use general fund dollars for that.
So next question, are citizens supposed to approve a bond issue when elementary school locations have not been decided or located? So if somebody would like to explain and talk about that.
I can talk about that, and then Mike, I'd love for you to jump in. So this bond issue, what we're talking about, what we're going to be asking voters to vote on is segment 1, and that is for a new middle school and building new academic wings to the high school. That's what this vote is about. Fast forward on Mike's chart 5 years, there will be a separate bond issue that voters will be able to vote on that deals specifically with elementary schools. And so 5 years from now, we'll go through a similar process of getting community input, having a design phase, and make those decisions. But that would be a separate segment, separate bond issue, separate vote, separate plan than what we're addressing right now, which is a critical need, is our middle schools and the academic units of the high school.
Has inflation been figured into the project costs?
Yes, I'll take that one. So we have projected when the bidding would occur on phase 1 and phase 2 of segment 1. And we've included project budgets for each of those phases that takes escalation into account. So yes, we have included projected escalation in all the segment 1 budgets, and that's embedded in the $222 million. Now, additionally, when you take on a project, there's contingency buckets. There'll be owners' contingencies. There'll be construction managers' contingencies. And these are essentially contingency buckets that are built into the project cost to help protect the project during its life. So we've included the escalation, our projection of escalation, and contingencies are all built in.
I'm going to have you do 2 more questions that have been recently submitted. See if new elementary schools are 5 to 10 years away, don't we need to redraw districts now to even out class sizes in the meantime?
I'll give that one a shot. One thing that I absolutely love about Kettering is our neighborhood schools. And our parents are very passionate about neighborhood schools. Our kids are passionate about neighborhood schools. It's the reason why we're talking about continuing neighborhood schools. We, every year, sit with all the principals. We have projected enrollment. We do sectioning to try to make sure that the very, very best student-to-teacher ratios are in each of our elementary schools, each grade level of our elementary schools. An issue that we run into sometimes is we have an influx of enrollment right before school starts. So let's take Greenmont as an example. When we do sectioning to get ready for the school year, and we look in July at how many students are in 2nd grade, and we make reasonable decisions about how many sections we should have, how many teachers we should have in that grade level. If the class size is 22, that is normal for 2nd grade. If from July to August, we have 8 kids move in to Greenmont's area, and they're all in 2nd grade, and there's only 2 sections, that's where we have issues with class sizes being out of whack the way we would like them to. So redistricting, it doesn't really solve that problem. We transfer teachers at times to make sure that we have reasonable class sizes, but It's that very, very late enrollment that happens from time to time. It would happen whether we redistrict or not, where we have class sizes that are bigger than we'd like them to be. And in our staffing, if we have a class size that's out of whack like that, when it reaches a certain level, we have extra adult aides in there to help the teacher, help support our students to make sure that they're in a good situation, all learning and growing.
And I will conclude with this final question, and I know that Dan Von Handorf will probably want to take this question. Oakwood is 5 out of 5 stars. Centerville is 5 out of 5 stars. Can you expect us to pass this when the state report card issued a 5 out of 5 rating for Kettering City Schools? Or I'm sorry, 4 out of 5.
Sure. That's a great question. And I'm a competitive person. I love being neighbors with Oakwood and being neighbors with Centerville because that sets a really high bar. The reality is, if you look at state report cards, they list 20 school districts that are like you, similar districts. They have the same demographics, they have the same types of communities. When you look at the similar districts to Kettering, so similar student population, they have similar median income. There's a whole list of criteria where they look for districts that are like you. Centerville and Oakwood, they are not similar districts to Kettering. The closest district to us that is a similar district is Miamisburg. I'm not going to go into how many stars Miamisburg got, but I can tell you of that list of 20 similar districts, we are close to the very, very top. And in our top 10 districts, so the 10 school districts in Ohio that are just like us, we are at the top of those districts. And so I love the fact that we are right by Centerville and right by Oakwood. The reality is we're different communities. We have different challenges. The communities that Kettering is like in the state of Ohio, we are right at the top in student achievement and student growth and in number of stars. And so if anyone would like more information, I'd be happy to share that with you. I am amazingly proud of our teachers. I'm amazingly proud of our kids. They achieve at a very high level and they outperform districts that are like us in the state of Ohio.
And that is a great way to bring it back to academics, instruction, and preparing our students for the career and workforce ahead of them. And I think Kettering leads the state in what we are doing. This is why we're passionate about that. Our students deserve to be in the quality buildings that we see around us. And we look forward to that and giving that back to our future generations. And for those of you that are interested in, we had quality profiles that are on the table. Please pick one of those up because there are multiple measures to the success and amazing things that happen here at Kettering. I want to thank you all, thank the panel, thank our tour guides, the experts, everybody here to make this evening and taking the time to prioritize the importance of this very, very important master plan project. Have a great evening and continue to watch the district website for updated information, the Kettering sponsored social medias for upcoming engagement opportunities as we work through this project throughout this school year. Thank you all and have a great evening.